Pinellas County School Board on April 11th, 2023 to order. This morning's invocation will be given by Pastor Don Pratt of St. Paul United Methodist Church, and the invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Chair Laura Hine, and the National Anthem, sung by Seminole High School's choir under the direction of Maya Barrios. Now please stand and remain standing until the conclusion of the National Anthem. Pastor Pratt, please lead us in our invocation.
You join me. Dear God, we thank you that you love us, and we thank you for this new day of life that is a gift. And we pray, Father, you help us throughout the day to see the grace that's in it. I pray for each of these folks who serve you on this board. I ask that you would give them wisdom and guidance, that you would give them patience, and that you would give them compassion in all the decisions that they make and the direction in which they lead. And even for those seemingly mundane and ordinary decisions of fish and bread, we pray that you would take those and that you would multiply them to make a difference in the multitude of people who live in this county, to nourish them and to help us. And Father, I pray you just help them to always be focused on the importance of a quality education for so many people to pull themselves to a different place and for all of us to live a better life. We just ask for your blessing and your grace upon each of them. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hello, my name is Maya Barrios. I'm the choral director at Seminole High School. In front of you, you see the Seminole Singers, which is our top audition group, full of juniors, seniors, and some lucky sophomores who are very talented. Today we'll be singing Shante Washte Hokshila, arranged by Linthicum Black Horse. This is a traditional Lakota lullaby dedicated to the victims of the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas. We hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much for the Seminole High School Choir. That was beautiful. Thank you, Ms. Barrios. And now as they exit, I'd like to introduce today's video. Eastlake Middle School's Academy of Engineering has recently been named an AVID National Demonstration School. This is a prestigious and rigorous designation, so let's take a look at the announcement at Eastlake Middle School.
So this means everything to us because we've been working on this so hard for so many years. We started here in 2014 and I hired teachers to be AVID trained. I wanted them all to be AVID trained because that's really what best teaching practices are. This is a huge point of celebration for Pinellas County School because they are the first middle school in Pinellas County to be a demonstration school.
So we're listening for what is it that's being done in classrooms that's unique. We're also listening for, do the students understand why they're doing what they're doing? Are the teachers clear on what the strategies are and how the strategies can impact learning? Because ultimately the goal is that every student that passes through these doors is going to benefit from knowing how to do school and do it well.
My favorite part of AVID is probably TRF time because I can work on stuff that I need help on, and it's not just like a study session, it's more of get your work done, organized, and like efficiently.
It's been a benefit to me because my notebook is extremely organized. All my interactive notebooks have been organized in a way where I can find everything.
Let me kind of clarify. It's been a very easy experience to kind of have teachers share with each other and spend time actually interacting with other teachers and learning a bunch of new techniques.
Eastlake is a standout because they are a STEM school where this is an engineering magnet and they have figured out how AVID can support the STEM, particularly the engineering application program.
Oh, fantastic. We're going to invite our Chief Strategy and Impact Officer, Ms. Jennifer Dole, who will introduce our professional and community organizations that are present with us today. Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Hendrick and staff, it is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas County Teachers Association, Nancy Velarde, President. From they're not actually here today. From the League of Women Voters, we have Dr. Vivian Posey. And today we have a presentation from our Students' Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome students Lily Rivera and Dylan Payne from Seminole High School, along with their principal, Jane Lucas.
Good morning. My name is Dylan Payne, and I'm a senior at Seminole High School. I'm Student Council President, President of Science National Honor Society, Treasurer of Spanish National Honor Society, Treasurer of Key Club, Secretary of Rho Kappa Honor Society, Parliamentarian of National Honor Society, a member of Mu Alpha Theta Honor Society, International Thespian Honor Society, Interact Club, Chemistry Club, and the academic team. One highlight of my time at Seminole High School has been my involvement in the academic team. Being a part of the team has allowed me to collaborate with students that share my same drive for a higher education while still maintaining a positive aspect of competition between schools. After high school, I plan on attending the University of Pittsburgh and majoring in environmental science. Thank you for giving us the time to share with you the wonderful things happening at Seminole High School this year. At Seminole High School, we aspire to live our lives with purpose, respect, and grit. That is the embodiment of the Warhawk Way. Each student at SHS has a purpose for learning, exhibits respect for self and others, while developing grit to persevere towards success in college, career, and life. Our faculty, staff, and student leaders pursue this mission together in a relentless manner each day. Seminole High School is a national PTA School of Excellence, has the distinction of being only one of 2 high schools to elevate their school grade, while also achieving a 99.2% graduation rate. Our class officers, student government, athletic, academy, and arts student leaders continue to create a culture of positive vibes and school-wide team spirit that is second to none. The Warhawk Nation has hosted, as well as sponsored sold-out athletic, arts, and community-wide events, from Friday Night Lights to our Homecoming and Prom Spirit Weeks, Battle of the Classes and dances, from the Warhawk Marching Band Seminole Sound Spectacular, to our hosting of the Gulf Coast Robotics Competition, from reunion class events to our Legacy Hall of Fame inductions. The momentum and upward trajectory of SHS's educational ecosystem and community continues strong. Seminole High School has the designation of being a Cambridge International School an AP capstone diploma school, and offers the AP experience for the 21st century learner, where all students have the access and opportunity to take advanced level college courses, as well as achieve industry certifications before they graduate a Warhawk. The commitment of the SHS faculty and staff is such that they support the unique teaching model of offering only honors and AP course curriculum. This innovative shift has created more relevant and rigorous opportunities for all learners at the Warhawk Nation and resulted in greater academic achievement and success school-wide. With our unique block schedule, Seminole High is able to infuse an academic resource and social-emotional learning advisory period into each student's school day. This AR period provides an equitable setting where students receive academic, social, and emotional supports while also forging a connection with a professional adult mentor. In addition, multi-grade level peer-to-peer relationships are fostered. We are the only high school in the nation to provide this opportunity. SHS is the Golden School Award winner in leadership and school volunteerism as designated by the Department of Education. Seminole High School is a 5-star National Blue Ribbon Award-winning school, also recognized by the Florida Department of Education for our overall academic excellence and progress in closing achievement gaps. SHS was honored by the Florida Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports Project as a Platinum Medal Award winner for being a PBIS model school. We are the only high school in the Tampa Bay area to have achieved this distinction. This exemplifies our continued commitment to positive outcomes for all students. Athletically, the Seminole Warhawk Nation had amazing successes this year. Seminole High School has been nominated by the FHSAA for the Fred E. Roselle Sportsmanship Award. We had 5 swim team athletes achieve state finalist status, and our Warhawk diver won the state title. The SHS football team beat our rivals for the first time in 6 years. The Warhawk basketball team won their 5th district championship title. Girls flag football coach won the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Coach of the Year award. Our girls Warhawk soccer team captured the district title for the first time in over a decade. Soccer player and scholar athlete Kylie O'Valley is headed to the United States Air Force Academy after graduation. Each one of our visual and performing arts groups are excelling in each genre: vocal, instrumental, orchestral, visual, and theatrical. Seminole High School's visual arts department students had their art selected for the Surrealist exhibit to be showcased at the Dali Museum. Phenomenal SHS student artwork is displayed throughout Seminole High School and right here in the Pinellas County Schools Administration Building as well. 8 Seminole High students were state finalists in the PTSA 2023 Reflections Award, featuring the best of the best in art, photography, media production, as well as choreography. We are proud to announce we have 2 finalists heading to nationals. Our jazz band performs weekly in the Warhawk Courtyard with a rousing weekend send-off for students and faculty. They were also the house band for the PCS's Evening of Excellence at the Mahaffey Theater. Our choral and instrumental groups continue to achieve superior ratings at their district and state festivals, along with the SHS Orchestra, which has the legendary distinction of having performed at Carnegie Hall. They were also featured performers at the ACE Principal's Breakfast at the James Museum and are the only orchestra headed to the state festival in 2 weeks. SHS's theatrical troupe 3039 invites you to our dinner theater and musical review tomorrow night at 6 p.m., and we are proud to announce that our Warhawk Marching Band is the Florida Marching Band State Champion. This is Seminole's 5th championship, and this year they achieved the highest gold medal score in the tournament's history.
Good morning and hello. My name is Lily Rivera and I'm a senior at Seminole High School. I am president of the class as well as president of the E-Commerce and Law Academy. I'm captain of the track and field team and involved in the Key Club, Chemistry Club, STEM Honor Society, the National Technical Honor Society, Science Honor Society, English Honor Society, and the National Honor Society. One particular thing I want to share about my experience at Seminole is student government. I've had the opportunity to share my voice and make a difference within my community to make a positive impact on the culture at Seminole. After high school, I was accepted into and will be attending the United States Coast Guard Academy as a recruited track and field athlete, and I will be studying marine environmental science. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today and the time you take to better the education of Pinellas County students. Seminole High School has partnered with pinnacles of higher education, such as Stanford University in their Bright Spots project, along with the University of Michigan and the Institute for Social Research, to inform and enact attention and action on the most important issues facing our nation's high schools. SHS is one of only a few Leader in Me international lighthouse schools, as designated by the Franklin Covey Education Foundation for our extraordinary commitment to leadership. Seminole was showcased on a global stage in January at the Leader in Me International Conference. SHS is proud to also be one of America's healthiest high schools, as designated by Alliances for a Healthier Generation. Under skillful direction of our emerging Teacher of the Year, AVID coordinator and expert AP biology teacher at Seminole High, AVID achieved AVID school-wide status for 2022-2023. Through our Sustainability and Engineering Academy, C, led by the 2023 Top 10 Teacher of the Year, finalist STEM integration is taking place school-wide as well. In addition, Seminole High has over 60 diverse clubs and extracurricular activities that facilitate engagement and leadership experiences. These offerings, along with our 7 vibrant academies, truly encapsulate our motto that there is something for everyone in the Warhawk Nation. Highlights of these programs range from the Seminole Sports Career Institute, which utilizes pixel-art technology, streaming live from our gymnasium, football, baseball, and softball stadiums with broadcast and photojournalism coverage and commentary provided by students in tandem with professional mentors, to the E-Commerce Academy, which is an academy of distinction. The creation and implementation of our online school store, the Warhawk Shop, by the E-Commerce Academy was a student-driven effort. This innovation has streamlined virtually all financial services at our school. Because of the teachers' and students' amazing vision and success, the E-Commerce Academy at our school is also a recipient of the Florida Association for Career and Technical Education's Innovation Award. Seminole High School's Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics, or STEAM Academy, is proud to have 4 STEM Explorer Clubs, the most of any high school. They include the Seminole Beautification, the National STEM Honor Society, the Robotics Team, and the Women in STEM. We were privileged to welcome the STEM women who are part of the U.S. Department of State International Vision Leadership Program. The program is entitled Hidden No More, Empowering Women Leaders in STEM. We were privileged to welcome leaders from these 8 amazing different countries as diverse as Tunisia, Zambia, and the Kyrgyz Republic. From drone certifications to pilot license to water and sustainability quality, ArcGIS technology, and rocket engineer design, our Sustainability Engineering Academy is on fire. It is no wonder that Seminole High School's valedictorian Jay Rice was selected as one of the state's highest achieving STEM scholars. The Center for Education and Leadership, known as our CEL Academy, has 100% of their seniors successfully participating in internships at 4 local elementary schools. The Educators Rising program, which spotlights amazing teachers on our campus. In the past 3 years, CEL students have earned nearly $4.5 million in scholarships in universities. And the CEL Academy has partnered with USF St. Pete to create seamless pathways for aspiring educators. In the literary and scholastic realm, our Hawk Talk magazine is the American Scholarship Press Association first place winner. In addition, our Warhawk yearbook is a national sample for the 5th year in a row. From a volunteer and humanitarian standpoint, we are thrilled with the Warhawk Gracie Tubbs, who was recently honored by the Governor and First Lady at the first annual Heroes Reception in Tallahassee for her exceptional support of the United States military veterans. Our ESC department and the Seminole High School leadership team began partnering this year with Feeding Tampa Bay to eradicate food insecurity and hunger through our Seminole community and ecosystem by operating an on-site online Warhawk food pantry. Academically, at Seminole High School, we have over 12 national and international honor societies. Seminole High School overall continues to demonstrate strong academic growth while promoting more vigorous coursework with innovative support systems for all learners. Our College and Careers Director works in tandem with our school counselors and continues to be a scholastic beacon for all students. Our CCC Director and school leadership hosted a college and university fair for our juniors and seniors with over 40 institutions of higher learning in attendance. They were featured on 2 news network media outlets for their phenomenal FAFSA night. Last Thursday, we hosted a career and job fair with over 35 businesses on site. We were recently notified that Seminole High School and our amazing math department chair and track and field coach was honored with recognizing and earning the College Board's AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award, one of only a few schools in the nation. We are proud to announce that artistic scholar Abigail Ralph and salutatorian Michaela Trudgeon are commended students for the 2023 National Merit Scholarship. To live your life with purpose, respect, and grit is the Warhawk way. We at Seminole High School claim this vision with a relentless team spirit. We are grateful with the opportunity to share the successes and the highlight of our school year this far. Thank you, school board members and Pinellas County Executive Leadership Team, for your support, and as always, go Warhawks.
Wonderful job, both of you are so well prepared. So we want a special thanks to Ms. Jane Lucas, the principal at Seminole High School. Thank you for being here, and thank you. It was a wonderful presentation, both of you. Great job. And now moving on to the amendments of our agenda, Mr. Hendrick, are there any recommended amendments to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, there are no amendments.
Are there any other recommended changes from the board? And no, so we are going to do, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as is? I have a motion on the floor to move the agenda as is by Mrs. Hines. Second by Ms. Edmond. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously, 7-0. And now we will go to our special order agenda. May I have a motion to approve item 4.1, the proclamation designating April 2023 as National Library Media Month? I have a movement for approval by Ms. Edmond. And a second by Mrs. Long. Mr. Hendrick, could you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to call up Bronwyn Slack, our coordinator of library media, to introduce this proclamation. I want to thank her for her efforts in our library media centers, not only this month, but all year. Ms. Slack.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, and the community. My name is Bronwyn Slack, and I'm the program coordinator for library media for Pinellas County Schools, and I'm here today to request your approval to recognize April as National School Library Month and celebrate the services that our library media programs and professionals provide to the schools in Pinellas County. Pinellas County Schools continues to be a leader in providing high-quality library media programs and services. Library media specialists are a vital member of our instructional staff at each of our schools. Research continues to show that highly qualified library media specialists, well-funded library media programs, and a strong presence of information and digital literacy instruction in schools increases student achievement outcomes. We owe it to our scholars to provide opportunities to engage with information and to encourage a love of reading. While our library media specialists often wear many hats to support their schools, it is important to keep their significance as instructional partners and leaders a top priority in our district. National School Library Month is a great time to highlight some of the successes and events related to our library media programs. Currently, we have 2 schools going through the rigorous Florida Power Library School process. Florida Power Library distinction is recognized each year at the annual Florida Association of Media and Education Conference. Additionally, we have special events going on around the district this month. Our annual Battle of the Books district competition will take place on April 28th, and we have many schools that are planning for a school literacy event during the month of April. In May, we will host our first annual Pinellas County Schools Student Film Festival. We reimagined our Jim Harbin Educational Media Awards program into something more meaningful and accessible to our students. I'm excited to see how our first competition goes and what this program will grow into. Finally, I want to say thank you to our library media professionals for all they do every day. For me, every month is National School Library Month, and I feel honored and proud to support them. I hope you will join me in celebrating and recognizing all the library media professionals who support our school libraries in honor of National School Library Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Slack. Ms. Edmond, would you please read the proclamation?
National School Library Month. Whereas school library programs promote and encourage a love of reading and are influential in preparing students for lifelong learning through the development of information literacy skills. And whereas school library programs close achievement gaps for all learners by providing equitable access to academic resources. And whereas school librarians play a critical role in supporting the instructional technology that is necessary to maintain a rigorous learning environment at each school. And whereas school librarians are instructional partners who directly support and enhance student achievement. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize April as National School Library Month, signed this 11th day of April 2023. I would like to echo the same things that Mrs. Slack mentioned, and I took the time to write letters to our library media technology specialists because I know that they're going through some changes and really helping the district adhere to the laws. And I just want to say you are appreciated every day. Thank you.
So much. Is there any other discussion from the board? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor by Ms. Edmond and a second by Ms. Long to approve item 4.1, the proclamation designating April 2023 as National Library Media Month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion to approve 4.1 passes unanimously, 7-0. Next, may I have a motion to, thank you so much, Ms. Slack. Thank you for being here. Next, may I have a motion to approve item 4.2, a proclamation recognizing May 2023 as Better Hearing and Speech Month. A motion by Ms. Long.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Cook. Mr. Hendrick, can you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's our pleasure to once again this year recognize Better Hearing and Speech Month and call up our longtime coordinator of speech pathologists, Shira Long, to introduce this proclamation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, staff, and community members. I'm pleased to talk to you this morning about Better Hearing and Speech Month, which is celebrated every May by the American Speech Hearing Association. Better Hearing and Speech Month affords the district an opportunity to acknowledge a sincere appreciation and thanks for the efforts and works of each speech-language pathologist and audiologist in Pinellas County Schools. This year's theme for Better Hearing and Speech Month is Building a Strong Foundation. Pinellas County Schools currently employs 156 speech-language pathologists, also known as SLPs, who serve approximately 7,500 students across all grade levels in our schools. In addition to school SLPs, the pre-K assessment team has SLPs, and there is an assistive technology team SLP. There are also 3 audiologists, and they provide services for all students and approximately 200 students in our deaf and hard of hearing program. In our schools, SLPs diagnose and treat communication disorders that negatively impact a student's education, such as speech sound disorders, stuttering, and voice disorders. They also diagnose and treat spoken language disorders, which may include difficulties with phonological skills, morphology, syntax, vocabulary, social pragmatic skills, and listening comprehension. Difficulty in any of those areas may impede the progress in the foundational literacy skills of reading, writing, and spelling. Some students receive therapy to enhance the development of social pragmatic skills. It helps them develop effective social communication and interpersonal interactions. Other students who have no reliable verbal communication skills may receive alternate or augmentative communication instruction. This gives them access to their education and a way to express themselves using assistive technology. The services provided by SLPs help students build a strong foundation so they may meet their full academic and social potential. Our district's audiologists provide hearing evaluations for students whose families or the school teams may suspect a child has a hearing loss. Any undiagnosed hearing loss can cause a student to have significant difficulty with their learning. Our audiologists conduct a wide variety of audiological services, such as diagnosing hearing loss, providing education for families and school teams about the implications of hearing loss, and they provide equipment for students who need amplification so they can access their educational environment. I'm proud, as the SLP coordinator and as a speech-language pathologist myself, to represent and recognize our SLPs and audiologists for their dedication and hard work on behalf of Pinellas County School students. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to recognize them today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Long. And I'm going to ask Mrs. Long to please read the proclamation.
And the kids would say, "Are you sisters?" And we'd say, "No, we're sister-in-laws." Oh, and it drove the kids crazy. So,
true.
Mrs. Long, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Long.
Proclamation of Better Hearing and Speech Month. Whereas Pinellas County Schools encourages options for an active and healthy lifestyle, and whereas in the best interest of the public, audiological services should be provided by a certified audiologist and speech-language services by a certified speech-language pathologist to achieve effective communication skills. And Whereas, through a national effort, community members are encouraged to join together to raise the awareness of the importance of better hearing and speech during the month of May 2023. And whereas, this effort will bring awareness to our schools and community of the roles of audiologists and speech-language pathologists in our schools. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize May 2023 as Better Hearing and Speech Month in the Pinellas County Schools. Signed this 11th day of April, 2023.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Discussion from the board, Mrs. Hine.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I just like to share each year that I stutter and I receive services through high school, and I think it's helped a great deal. And both of my children stutter. My sixth grader receives services early. Fortunately, these days we know about these things much earlier, and he stopped receiving services in second grade. He's fluent as can be, and our third graders still receive some, but I have no doubt that he too will be fluent one day. It's 7,500 students in our school system. That's 1 in 12. So that means there's about 2 in every classroom. That's a number of students. So this impacts a lot of people. So I just want to say thank you. And the work that you and those 156 SLPs do every day has made a big difference in my life and my children's life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Long. We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Long and a second by Mrs. Cook to approve item 4.2, proclamation recognizing May 2023 as Better Hearing and Speech Month. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously to approve item 4.2. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We will begin our public comments on agenda items. Okay, members of the public have 3 separate opportunities to address the board when we gather for business meetings. The first is public comment on agenda items. The second is at public hearings, most of which are policies, and the last is after our meeting when speakers may address the general business of the district. At each opportunity for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for interaction, but the board will take your comments into consideration before it votes on agenda items. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. This includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Lastly, please note that this meeting and all public comments will be broadcast live on the internet and video will be publicly archived. Members of the public may always communicate with the board through our email address, board@pcsb.org, or calling the board office at 588-6300. Thank you. Mrs. Houck, are there any speakers on agenda items?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, we have 2 speakers for agenda items this morning. The first is John Ciani, speaking to item 7.9, followed by Renee Chia, speaking to 7.6.
Good morning.
Good morning.
John Ciani, St. Petersburg, and my comments concern 7.9 is agreement with Hennessy Construction for construction management services. And according to this project at Pinellas County College, I'm wondering why you're spending nearly $3.2 million for construction management services for a $5.7 million project. It seems like an awful lot. And because I know there's a district in California that's building an old elementary school, and they're spending only $4 million for construction management services. And I'm wondering too, as this says a partial guaranteed maximum price, and I'm wondering what's partial about it. Because I think it's going to be guaranteed or it's not. So I'm not questioning the need for the service. I'm just questioning the cost of it. Thank you.
Ms. Chia?
Good morning. I'm here to speak about agenda item 7.6. As you will recall, we discussed this item last year. I told you I was against Pinellas building a Ministry of Education. My position on that point has not changed. The NISL training you are proposing to purchase for Pinellas County principals is created by the NCEE. The foundation of this training you can find clearly right online. From the NCC website, you can see the argument is that the USA is woefully behind all other nations in the learning curve, whereas China is the clear leader. The CCP propaganda holds up the model of school governance in Singapore as the model to find or to meet or to match. And it discusses the professional development for Hong Kong's principals. So you're going to spend over $200,000 more on trying to train Pinellas staff on how to be better communists. Now, before you kick this over to the district and Mr. Hendrick to explain, let me tell you what he's going to say. The same thing that Dr. Grego condescendingly said last year and Ms. Cook smugly seconded, and that is that this contractor is on the Florida Department of Education contractor list. I'm very aware that the bureaucratic deep state of Florida is not on the same page as the elected administration and legislature. This could be because they are intentionally undermining the administration's goals, or that they are simply unaware because they aren't doing their jobs. They are just collecting a paycheck. This is an issue I'll be bringing up in Tallahassee next week. However, that does not excuse the fact that you are spending Pinellas taxpayer dollars on this, and it does not excuse the fact that you are failing to do your jobs of oversight. There are 3 board members who, in my opinion, are doing their jobs. The rest of you are simply collecting a paycheck, talking to the Tampa Bay Times, worrying about your reelection so you can keep showing up, doing nothing, and collecting a paycheck. Just so we're clear, the 3 board members doing their job, in my opinion, are Ms. Myers, Ms. Peters, and Ms. Edmonds. Today, you have a vote on this issue. Today, you have a choice. You have the ability to use that to conduct oversight, or you can shrug your shoulders at me as you usually do and follow along like lemmings because, well, it's on the Florida Department of Education contract list. Just because you can do something, Ms. Kane, doesn't mean you should.
There are no other speakers for agenda items.
Thank you very much. And there are no items on the unfinished business list. We are going to move to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the floor to adopt the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I have movement approval by Ms. Hine.
Second.
And a second by Mrs. Cook. All those in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. The consent agenda passes unanimously, 7-0. With that, we are going to go to the non-consent agenda items. May I have a motion to approve item 8.1, setting of a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 5500.08, Code of Student Conduct, misconduct that requires specific consequences. Do I have a motion on the floor? A motion to approve by Ms. Meyer.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Edmond. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to call our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, Leanna Eisen, up to discuss the Code of Conduct, the process we went through to gather input, and also to set the public hearing.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, staff, and community. As discussed at the March board workshop, we're proposing an amendment to policy 5500.08, Code of Student Conduct, misconduct that requires specific consequences. Each year, Pinellas County Schools district staff engages with a variety of stakeholders to garner their input on the Code of Student Conduct. Concurrently, the district reviews the policies within the Code of Student Conduct for alignment with legislative updates, as well as district and state best practices. We engaged with the PCC PTA, the Pinellas County Council PTA, Student Rights and Responsibilities, our Family and Community Engagement Committees, as well as district internal staff as well. The policies within the Code of Student Conduct provide guidance and descriptions for how students are expected to conduct themselves. The proposed amendments are intended to provide greater clarity to all stakeholders about the consequences related to misbehavior. The proposed amendments to 5500.08 include the following substantive changes. Section 1, tobacco, nicotine, and vaping, clarifies the progressive consequences for multiple violations of this policy and adds consequences for elementary students. Section 2, illegal drugs, alcoholic beverages, harmful and other substances, describes the consequences for students who violate this policy, including specific progressive consequences for secondary students. And Section 6, felony charges and convictions for off-campus conduct, explains the process for notifying parents once a felony charge against a student has been confirmed, and it adds reference to Florida statute that specifically discusses suspension following a hearing. We recommend setting a public hearing for June 13th and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing for the amendments to Policy 5500-08, Code of Student Conduct, Misconduct that requires specific consequences.
Thank you, Ms. Eisen. Is there any discussion from the board? Ms. Edmond?
Thank you, Ms. Eisen, for bringing this item forth. I know that we have the interagency agreement between law enforcement, and I think it's important just to reiterate to the public that we are following the interagency agreement as it relates to the inclusion of that item within the policy.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the board? We have a motion on the floor by Ms. Meyer to approve item 8.1 and a second by Ms. Edmond, the setting of the public hearing, authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider amendment to Policy 5500-08, Code of Student Conduct. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to approve item 8.1 is approved unanimously, 7-0. And now may I have, thank you so much, Ms. Eisen. Oh, you're staying up here.
I'm staying.
Now, may I have a motion to approve item 8.2, the setting of the public hearing, authorizing the advertisement of a public hearing to consider the amendment to Policy 7250, naming and commemoration of district facilities. Moving for approval by Ms. Cook, and a second by Mrs. Long. Mr. Hendrick, can you please introduce?
Thank you,
that?
Madam Chair. As the board knows, we've named 2 schools here in the last 6 months or so, and during that process, the board is asked to revisit this particular policy, and I'll pass it back to our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, Mrs. Eisen, for that update.
Thank you.
We have discussed this policy at 2 board workshops in February and in March, and so I'll review the amendments that we discussed at those workshops. The policy is expanded to include 4 sections for various types of facilities. I will walk through each of those expanded sections, and then we have an overall addition to the policy as well. So the first section we renamed to naming of schools, and it's modified from naming district facilities to naming of schools. We removed the stipulation about selecting a name within 1 year from appointment of an architect because that no longer aligns with timelines in practice. We maintain that if a building or a school is named for a person, that person shall have been deceased for not less than 1 year. And we added the requirement for procedures, district procedures, for naming schools, and that those procedures shall include community input. The second section is naming components of schools, such as gymnasiums, media centers, athletic fields, and states that district procedures shall be adopted and gives examples of what components of schools are. The third section is the naming of administrative non-facilities, and it's similar to the naming of schools. What's different is that it does not include the specification that if a administrative non-school facility is named for a person, that person shall have been deceased for 1 year. The last section is just moving the memorials on school board property. That paragraph didn't change, we just moved the location of that paragraph. And based on board member feedback during workshop, we changed that the board does not approve memorials on campuses, but that the site administrator would approve those. And the last section we added is that facilities and school names are permanent unless there is a change within the program or use, and that if a namesake becomes reasonably considered to negatively affect the reputation or goodwill of Pinellas County Schools and its school board, it can then be renamed by the entity that originally approved the name. So that would be the site administrator or the school board. And with that, we recommend setting a public hearing for June 13th and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing for the amendments to Policy 7250, naming and commemoration of district facilities.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eisen. Is there any discussion from the board on this policy change? No. All right, we have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Cook and a second by Ms. Long to approve item 8.2, the setting of the public hearing, authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 7250. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion to approve item 8.2 has been approved unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Eisen. Moving to new business, do we have any new business introduced by the superintendent, Mr. Hendrick?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. First, I wanted to just acknowledge, I know at the start of each meeting, we acknowledge groups that we partner with that are here, and I think we left one off. The Arts for Complete Education is represented and is always at our meetings. Thank you, Gene Reynolds, for being here today and representing ACE. I want to remind the public that our registration for Pinellas County Schools Summer Bridge and summer camps is underway. You can find more information on our website. Our popular summer camps are beginning to fill up. Those include our Ignite Arts Camp, movie making, 3D printing, mural painting, STEM, science camps, culinary arts, and many, many more. You can find links on our homepage to sign up for those camps and for Summer Bridge. At the end of this week, parents will begin to start a ridership campaign for next school year for our transportation department. So parents should be on the lookout for communications around riding school buses next year. And as a new process for Pinellas County Schools to make us more efficient in our routing, we ask parents to let us know if they are choosing to ride in the morning, in the afternoon, both, or not at all. Traditionally, we have about 36,000 students that qualify for a bus route, but only about 22,000 actually advantage themselves of that bus each year. And so we want to make those routes as efficient as possible, and we'll be asking parents to just let us know their intentions for next year. They'll do so in the parent portal in Focus, and that information will be widespread over the next couple of weeks and months to make sure we route children appropriately for next year. As our Florida legislator continues to meet in Tallahassee, I know that we've had an update at the last workshop, and we'll have another one at this upcoming workshop. But there have been a couple of bills that have passed and been signed into law, and I wanted to touch on just a couple of those. HB 1, which is the largest expansion of private school vouchers in the nation's history. The Family Empowerment Scholarships, which have been around for a long, long time in Florida, have been expanded to almost all families in the state, up to 400% of the federal poverty index, with priority to those at 185%. That includes the traditional McKay and Gardner Students with Disabilities scholarships as well. Lots have been said about this scholarship and its impact on public schools in Florida. The biggest thing that we need to continue to remind ourselves is the cost of this and keeping it outside of our traditional funding formula. So long as that cost stays outside the funding formula, which the legislator has said in its initial discussions, then it should have no impact on our schools in terms of a loss of funding. In terms of students leaving public schools, whether in Pinellas or other places, we have been in competition for decades now. That's why we've had our great magnet programs and things for many, many years, and we'll look forward to continuing that competition. House Bill 1 also includes some pieces that are important around teacher certification and giving teachers an additional 2 years to meet those initial certification requirements. And those can be very laborious for teachers as new teachers, from special education to ESOL to traditional certification requirements. And we think that that expansion is a good thing for the teaching profession. There are several others that are currently being discussed in the legislature, including House Bill 1069, which includes instructional materials, gender identity, and pronouns. The Start Time Bill, which is House Bill 733, which would apply as it's currently written beginning in 2026. And there's a number of bills, House Bill 239, Senate Bill 7024, around our Florida retirement system that we're tracking closely because of its impact on our budget. So we'll continue to track those, as I know our board members are in conversations with our delegation in Tallahassee as well, and ensure that our voice of Pinellas County Schools is heard in Tallahassee. Over the last several weeks, there's been lots of discussion about instructional materials and objections in our community. I wanted to give the board and the public just a little bit of an update as to where we sit with some of those. Going back to March 7th, we brought to the board some administrative procedures to implement our policy, which was recently updated, I believe, in January, Policy 2510 on instructional materials and controversial materials. During that board workshop, we pledged to the board to make sure we educate our school system employees on those materials, and we've certainly begun the process of doing so, sharing it with employees, but then training each principal in the district this week, assistant principals next week, and also our executive leadership team on those materials as well. We've had a couple of objections. I'm sure we'll have some more, and we'll follow the policy and those procedures that are outlined. Of all the things that were said and written about this most recent one, Ruby Bridges, one of the things that was quite clear is that the process worked very well in person in terms of supporting the committee, the parents, the community members who participated in that, and we're proud to say that that process is working, and that was part of the administrative procedures that we brought to the board back in March. As part of that discussion, I want to also just reiterate a few of the things I shared in an article with the Tampa Bay Times about making sure that as people have objections, it's certainly people's right to do so. The community and parents, we should be respectful of those objections, We should honor each other's voice, and we should move forward in a way that doesn't divide our schools but unites them. Parents always have opportunities for input into their child's education, especially as it relates to instructional materials. We should honor that right, and we should also honor the rights of all parents to not have to face their process. I want to thank the board for the discussion around those procedures and the policy, and thank our district folks, and especially North Shore Elementary, who did the most recent challenge, for their professionalism in supporting that process. Lots of recent events and student experiences I wanted to share with the board and the public. We have lots of competitions going on right now in our schools as they get ready towards the end of the year. Academic competitions. We heard about some of those academic competitions from our students at Seminole High School earlier. But recently we had a middle school math competition involving our Algebra 1 students. Tyrone Middle School were the winners of that competition. Congratulations to those students and their teachers. And also lots of field trips going on right now. I think I shared with the board recently, over 20,000 students have experienced a field trip thus far in our schools, including 2,000 middle school students last week going down to see the tall ships and a lot of the naval ships and a whole host of things down in the harbor in St. Petersburg. Thanks to all of our chaperones who it's critical to have them chaperone 2,000 students all at once and as a challenge. I want to congratulate our Pinellas Park High School Patriot Singers for their recent performance at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City under the direction of Helen Twinham. I believe they sang for us not too long ago, and they recently performed in St. Patrick's Guest Choir Concert Series. And our recent announcement of the Scholastic Art Award winners, Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, Pinellas County Schools had 16 national medalists, which is really incredible on a national stage. 5 of those received gold medals. Students from St. Petersburg High School, Gibbs, Hollins, Boca Ciega, Dunedin, Lehman, and many, many more were recognized in this with gold and silver awards. The gold award recipients will travel to New York City and Carnegie Hall to receive those awards on June 9th. And this morning, literally as we speak, we have a student receiving the Congressional Art Award from Congresswoman Castor, Lakewood High School junior Josiah Lyons. His artwork will be featured in our United States Capitol for the next several months. We've had students recognized in international academic competitions, including 2, one from Curlew Creek Elementary School and Carwise Middle, who finished second in the Geography Bee and will be participating in the National Geography Bee for our schools. Our Largo High School students received gold medals recently at the Indoor Color Guard competition in Daytona Beach. I want to congratulate our Packers on that great performance and winning that state championship. And our Hollins High School robotics team is headed to the World Championships. They've named themselves Team Nerdvana. Yes, you heard that right, Nerdvana. They'll be going to Houston in April to compete with teams from around the world in the first robotics championships. Clearwater High School Marine Junior ROTC will be heading to Washington, D.C. as a team of 20 students won first place in the Southwest region and is heading to compete against the top 10 Marine Corps JROTC units in the nation. And just recently, this week, we were notified that Pinellas County Schools Principal Dr. Christine Wilson of Orange Grove Elementary School, who was our district's Principal of the Year, was chosen as one of 3 finalists for the State Principal of the Year Award. We briefly were able to celebrate her Thursday afternoon in front of her colleagues, other principals, and she will continue in that competition here in the spring and summer. And you saw the video and heard about Eastlake Middle and their Avid National Demonstration status. We've had lots and lots of award ceremonies the last several weeks. I want to thank the board for being out and shaking hands with our students on their great awards, including the Carwise Awards, the Yes I Can Awards, the Maria Edmonds Awards, the Outstanding Volunteer Breakfast, our Academic Pride Awards, and coming up very soon, the Burl Davis Awards is the last in that sort of circuit of awards ceremonies. I also want to let the public know we have the newest of our Community Listen and Learn events coming up on April 12th. That's tomorrow night at Eastlake High School. It starts at 5 o'clock, just like the 9 that we did when I began as superintendent, going out and speaking with the public. These will also involve the board members. And so we'll have 2 or 3 board members at each of these sessions. We'll give an overview of district events, get some input on some things that are going on, and then answer questions from the public, both myself and our board members who will be there. And we're also looking forward to, on April 25th, a joint showcase with St. Petersburg College, as both our board and the college board and the business community get together to look at the K-12 up to college and beyond ecosystem here in Pinellas County. And finally, as I do at each meeting, I want to celebrate one superintendent standout. And this meeting's standout in honor of Library Media and School Library Month is Danielle Gabbert, a library media technology specialist at Brooker Creek Elementary School, has been with Pinellas County Schools for 23 years, and she was noted by her colleagues that she not only runs an amazing library media program, she also puts efforts into staying connected to the curriculum and enhancing the student experience with technology integration. Student writing was her focus recently as she rolled out Book Creator to encourage students to include multimedia elements in their writing projects. The entire fourth grade will now have the tools to improve their writing skills and had fun in the process. Thank you, Danielle, and each of our employees for what they do every day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hendrick. Mr. Kopersky, are there any items to be introduced by the school board attorney?
There are no items today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Ms. Woodford, would you please review any board requests? Oh, sorry, I skipped one item. I'm sorry, board members go first. Excuse me. School board members, are there any items to be introduced by school board members? Ms. Edmond?
Thank you. I just want to speak briefly regarding the construction at P-TECH and just state for the record that Hennessy was selected through the competitive bid process, which four firms applied to be the CM for this project. Hennessy received more points through the two-stage scoring process by the committee and was awarded the project. Also, while our contracts generally offer better prices, this is not always the case, which is why it was important for the district to go with a construction manager for this project. On another related topic is the approval of the National Center of Education in the Economy's NISL program agreement. I asked questions regarding that, and then I just want to thank Mrs. Texel for elaborating on the benefits of providing this leadership, as well as the outcome, meaning how many people apply, how many people complete it, because I think that's important, that as we make purchases and we're supporting the development of educators and administration, that we are seeing the benefits from those programs. I also would like to just share that last week I attended the COQUEBS meeting. Superintendent Hendrick, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Brinson, Dr. Evans, and Mr. Kopersky were present. And we heard from members of the organization and the public. I would like to share with the board and the public that we must follow the Bridging the Gap plan while adjusting to changing legislation. And this was something that was noted by the COQUEBS attorney. We have received emails in the past regarding the Bridging the Gap plan and initiatives from constituents that aren't in agreement with the plan. And I have submitted my questions regarding the mid-year report, as well as the questions that I stated I would resubmit based on last year report. So with that being said, Mr. Kopersky, would you please provide additional information regarding the Bridging the Gap plan, as well as if the district is compliant with laws in the items in the Bridging the Gap plan?
Yes, Mrs. Edmond. I think I mentioned earlier at a workshop of the board, I discussed the plan when the school board members received their mid-year report. And so the Bridging the Gap plan was officially adopted by the school board as part of a court settlement in a state court case involving COQUEBS as a class action representative for the plaintiff class. And so we are following that guidelines. We are not just under a recommendation of the superintendent or even a school board vote, but a judge's order at this point to follow that and to implement that plan. We do have certain discretion within the plan. For example, all of the action steps within the plan we can look at, and in fact, we do look at each year to see if they're working. Is there something else that needs to be done, something that needs to be changed? But as far as the core, the goals, the reporting requirements, those things cannot be changed without the consent of the plaintiff. And in fact, during the 6.5 years that we've been under this order, we have not changed any of those goals or the reporting requirements. Although we have changed the action steps as new things have come and other things have gone, and we've tried different things. To answer the second part of your question, I believe, was, are we compliant with the court order? And I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you from me to say that, yes, I do believe we are compliant with the court order. We do see legislation come year after year, and I always take a look at the action steps. I take a look at the goals to make sure that there's nothing in conflict between state statute or federal statute, for that matter, and our Bridging the Gap plan. If there is ever anything that anyone has a question about, they can come to me. And of course, if there's anything that I see that is of a concern, I will bring it to the attention of the school board and to the superintendent, and we may have to go back to the plaintiff's class to talk about that, because we can't sit with both a court order and a statutory obligation that we would be violating. But I don't see anything in there now that would cause us to be in violation of state law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kupersky. I think it's important that community members as well as the board receives clarification on how to balance the Bridging the Gap plan as well as pending laws. So thank you for staying on top of that. I would also like to share, I had the opportunity to attend CASPA, and it was so wonderful to see Tarpon Springs Jazz Ensemble in their show choir present in front of, school boards across the United States. It was just amazing, and they were just so talented. So I just want to give a shout out to them and thank them for coming over to Tampa and showing off their skills. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the 3DE Innovation Showcase with several of my colleagues, and I just want to say it was great to see both Hillsborough and Pinellas 3DE program participants, as well as to know that St. Pete High and Dunedin made it to the final rounds of that competition, and congratulations to Dunedin. I'm equally excited about the 3D expansion to Lakewood High School next year, and I had an opportunity to visit Gibbs and see how the 3DE program is going, and it's off to a great start. So I would like to again give a shout out to those schools and thank the 3DE program for their partnership. And last but not least, there are always opportunities to mentor in Pinellas County Schools, and there are plenty of job openings. So if you're interested, please go to our website and join the team and support children. Thank you.
Mrs. Hine?
Thank you, Mrs. Edmond, for highlighting a number of those things. I thought the 3DE competition was also amazing, and I was very, very, very proud of our schools here in Pinellas, as well as my alma mater, Chamberlain High School in Tampa. I was happy to see them present as well. I participated, I wanted to tell my colleagues here that I participated in the Florida School Board Association nominating committee process yesterday, where we reviewed, interviewed, and selected the executive committee for the coming year with FSBA. This gave me really great insight into the organization and the different leaders and people who were raising their hands for leadership, as well as the folks on the nominating committee who are present from around the state. And I just want to encourage everyone to look at that June conference that's available. If you can make time to participate in that, look at the agenda and the different sessions available. I was very impressed with the group. I did want to make a couple of comments as well about the recent community discussion around the Ruby Bridges book. Thank you, Superintendent Hendrick, for your remarks. And also, when conflict arises, being able to clarify one's values and lead from those values is really important. And I just want to also thank you for making those values clear. I also think that once the process got back on track, it was well done. Thank you to the district for leading the school through that. Yes, I'm a school board member, but I'm also a parent at that school at North Shore Elementary. I have been for 7 or so years now, so I know it well, and I care about it deeply. And I care about the culture, and I care about all of the parents and families who attend that school. So it was something that I tried to listen and participate in the best that I could. And I think one of the most important things was to clarify our values. I'd like to thank the families there. Well, let me first, on the process side, I think it's really important to know that in the previous 3 school years, so not this school year, but the previous 3 school years, Pinellas County Schools has had 1 formal objection to a instructional material, This semester, we've had 5. So yes, there's been a couple of missteps out of the gate on a couple of them, and we're going to get that better, and it's important that we do, and I appreciate us acknowledging that. I also think because there is a lot of care about what these policies are and what the process is, and it is, as you read through those policies, although we're all very, very close to it because we've read them and edited them and worked on them and talked about them, I think it'd be great if we had some kind of clear flow chart, for both of the different policies, so both our staff and administrators and our community can understand what those processes are. It'd be really nice to create something like that. Then, of course, refer to the full policies for additional questions. I also just want to mention, at the school level, which I think can maybe serve as an example for all of us. If you were involved at all at the school level in the last month, what you would know is a couple things. You would know that the second grade parents got together and wrote a letter to the school board and to the superintendent and to the leadership here to make their thoughts clear, to say that we support the film and we support our teachers and the process was followed. Those same parents also wrote a letter to the parent who objected and said, we care about you and we're part of the same school and our school culture matters, you matter, your voice matters. So please know that we support you as well. And I think that that's so important. I think that we've had a few years of pretty difficult times as a whole. And I think that language has gotten very aggressive and our society is like a pile of dry kindling. And just the smallest spark, we just ignite. And I think in our closest community, maybe in our families, our neighbors, our schools, we can get through that. And I just wonder if as a bigger community, if we can do better. If we can do better when an issue arises, one, to orient ourselves to our values, and then to know that Pinellas County is nearly 1 million people. We have nearly 1 million people in this county. We're going to disagree. Of course we are. And so how do we get to a place where voices have value, but we also use reasonable voices? And we share our thoughts, we share what our opinions are on things, and we do so respectfully, and we listen to the other people. And then we have a process in place where there's dialogue, and we come to a decision, and then we can stand by each other. We might not all agree with that decision, but our society has got to get to a place where we can share our thoughts on things, where we can disagree and discuss the different ideas and then come to a decision and stand together throughout it. And I commit myself to do that as well as I can, and I hope that all of you do too. I think our kids feel it, and I think we see it in our schools. I think parents have had a hard time, adults have had a hard time the last handful of years too, and I think that aggressive and kind of ready to ignite feeling, I think our kids see that. And I think they feel it, and I think we're seeing that in our schools. So I just think we all need to work together to, whether it's moderate the vibration, it's like the vibration is up. And what are we going to do to get that down and get back to a place where we can be together? And then last thing I'm going to say is that summer is coming, whether I like it or not. And so looking at summer camps and all of those kinds of things, I do want to say thank you to the district. If you all, like I, are still looking for summer camps for your children, there are lots of them out there, and they're incredible. So thank you for getting those out there for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other board members wish to? Thank you so much, Ms. Ziner. Really well said. So many things. Very well said. With that, with seeing no other board member requests here, Ms. Woodford, could you please review any board requests that were made during discussion?
Yes. Madam Chair, I noted one request from Ms. Hine. We have a policy that's very clear, but possibly coming up with a flow chart of the process that goes along with that on controversial materials, books, videos, and such.
I think both the policies.
Both. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Is there any further business, any additional lights? I'm seeing none. With that being said, we're going to adjourn the meeting. We are adjourned. And we will move to our open public comment on general business for the district. Please note that the views and comments of public speakers are their own and are not endorsed nor sponsored by the school board or district. We cannot ensure the accuracy of statements made. but will review concerns that are raised and take appropriate action, which may include clarifications or the referral of speakers to the proper staff members for assistance. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. This includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Additionally, please note that although school board members or Superintendent Hendrick may leave the dais briefly, there are speakers in our back room and we will continue to be able to hear your comments. Thank you. Mrs. Howe, do we have any? Please introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first two speakers are Carmen Lundy and Nicole St. Ledger.
Hi, Carmen Lundy. I'm on behalf of the Clearwater MLK Martin Luther King Jr. Center, 1201 Douglas Ave. I'm just going to pose a couple of questions. First, I would like to first make it publicly informed that the lease that has been talked about was not brought to my attention on July 21st, that it would not be renewed. I have follow-up emails stating that, so that comment that was made to the media was incorrect. Secondly, was there any agenda item, any discussion of when the center had been decided to be closed? I mean, who makes those decisions? It's just questions that we like to know. We've never to this day yet heard of any open discussions of how this came about. Thirdly, the school board has never given any support to the renovation, repairs, not even maintenance. You're a beneficiary of a $2 million policy that we've had to pay over insurance. The community has paid for insurance for that facility for the 11 years. School board has never been on site for any kind of differences or anything. So again, where did the burden become to the school board? That a community took a facility and imparted all their, time and effort into, and then it became a burden to the school board. Why and when did that happen? And what is that burden to the point to close it down? Thirdly, you've offered in the building for out here to someone, maybe the city or whomever. Surely, again, it hasn't been the burden to you because you've never come to help with anything. You close it down to the community. If you have a problem with the coalition, then we can respect that and clarify that problem. But closing this facility down, that the services to the community, then we have a problem to understand that, where this very community is the one that took effortless time and donations, and put into the center, not the school board. And thirdly, I want to talk about hopefully, like for instance, the video from the October has been suppressed. We don't even see our comments when we came to the school board on behalf of closing down the center when we got a 23-day notice. So when we go on your video, again, never in the agenda this has ever been discussed or talked about. We were just wondering why we're not able to see that video, and hopefully this one won't be suppressed, because I know during that time, after that meeting, the school board went and hovered over, you guys went and hovered over in the corner and started having a discussion, which I'm sure there's some kind of Florida sunshine rule about that. So we like to know what that discussion was about. A lot of things are being talked about among yourselves that we as a public and a community have not heard, understood, and where these discussions are coming from. Who, when, and why is the answers that we like to hear. Thank you.
Good morning. First, I'd like to start with a thank you for your swift action and review of the Ruby Bridges movie. When I first became a teacher, I heard the phrase, children who are loved at home come to school to learn. Children who need more love come to school for love. It's so true. But unfortunately, the actions of the district continue to not be transparent and are making schools a place where kids cannot feel loved and supported in. You are not being transparent as you say you are going to be, as more books are being removed from shelves without complaint. But the kids notice, and they wonder why books with information about the human body are no longer available. Students notice that all the LGBTQ safe place stickers are no longer up in those classrooms. Unfortunately, they don't wonder why about that one. They know that school is no longer a safe place for themselves or their friends to be loved and learned in. They notice that one member of the vocal minority of censorship advocates can get a book pulled without review or reinstatement. And they notice how it affects their education in a negative way. Students see these actions in the schools and are concerned with what is happening in their once safe and supportive spaces and learning environments. And they are talking about it among themselves and with their families. You need to start being more transparent about what actions you are taking to err on the side of caution as you're implementing the laws that are currently being imposed. When books are pulled from the community and families, a community asks for a review, you need to do it timely and not sit on it saying, oh, we'll get to it later this summer. There needs to be a public review of the Bluest Eyes. It has not happened yet. Even though the Ruby Bridges movie that took place after has had this occur. Please start following your processes more clearly. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Nancy Velarde and Alexis Myers.
Good morning. There are two major issues in Pinellas that need immediate attention and decisive action. During the first semester of this school year, we saw a distinct improvement in the culture and climate at most of our schools. But the second semester has brought a return to the past problem of toxic leadership in many of our sites. These administrators seek to get the best out of their employees by threats, intimidation, and the weaponization of the evaluation process. There is endless research to prove that these authoritarian tactics will only work for a very short time, if at all. In today's environment, with teachers leaving the profession faster than we can replace them, this is an extremely poor choice on the part of our school-based administrators. These administrators need to be retrained in the modern practices that are much more successful. We would never browbeat our students into studying and learning because we know that wouldn't yield the results we wish to see. Our students would learn only to distrust us and fear us, and people don't perform well under those circumstances. This lack of support of our classroom teachers and support staff is contributing to the second major issue, which is the growing violence in our schools. Poor management of discipline issues has been a problem PCTA has raised for years. This neglect in processing referrals for antisocial behavior has led to students becoming more empowered to disrespect and at times attack our educators. Violent tendencies need to be addressed at the youngest age possible with the cooperation of the parent to resolve whatever stress or trauma the child may be experiencing to cause the behavior. We're doing a disservice to our students as well as the educators in the classroom who must deal with this behavior every day. Most of all, we are failing the child who is crying out for help. If our educators are caught in the middle, suffering different forms of abuse from both their administrators and from their students, they aren't going to remain long in this profession. We are going to have to be ever more competitive next year, and we will not come out on top if these two problems are not remedied effectively. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Benjamin Brady. I'm a university at University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. Go Bulls. Currently enrolled as a political sciences major. I'm here today to propose a program in which I hope to increase equity and fairness with all students. Firstly, I would like to mention the amazing work that Pinellas County School Board has done working with Waste No Food Tampa Bay as their main source of a food recovery program, which has been able to help those in need. As you all most likely know, 45% of Pinellas County is deemed as a food desert, in which there is no immediate access to low-cost fruits and vegetables in relation to neighborhoods. This disproportionately affects low-income and minority families and takes a detriment to the growing minds that go to Pinellas County. As a result of this, we propose a restructuring of the current food recovery program, to include snacking stations that be made available to students throughout the day. We call this PEAL, Pinellas Ensuring Equitable Lunches, as seen on the brochures I brought. The foods made available would be the same foods donated to Waste No Food Tampa Bay, slightly blemished fruits, veggies, and other foods needing little to no preparation and without time temperature control. With these foods available to students all day, it alleviates the reliance on vending machines and its competitive foods, it limits food waste, promotes healthy snacking, all at no cost to students. In addition, since Pinellas is part of the Florida Farm to Schools program, these foods made available are grown locally, organic, and with a maximum nutritional content. Thank you and have a great day.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alexis Myers. I am a student enrolled at University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, currently enrolled as a political science major. Once again, we would like to recognize the work done by Pinellas County School Board on their elaborative work on the food recovery program. I would like to first mention that the PEAL program is in compliance with the current statute 495.420 on the food recovery program and plans to be an intermediary between mealtimes with the FRP with Waste No Food Tampa Bay. If PEAL were to be enacted, we would expect very low upfront costs by utilizing volunteers and funds from the State Food and Nutritional Service Trust Fund, and upkeep being overlooked by current cafeteria staff. This restructuring of the current FRP promotes equity as it creates no cost barrier for students to have a meal. Since Pinellas County does not meet the 80% ratio where the county is required to provide free lunches to all students, there's an application process to free reduced lunches. PEAL is an immediate action that allows free snacks to available to all students no matter their background. With that being said, I hope PEAL is put in place, and thank you for your time.
The next two speakers are Jonathan Wade and Emmanuel Matalon.
Good morning, school board members, Mr. Hendricks, Superintendent. My name is Reverend Jonathan Wade. I am a lifelong resident of Clearwater, Florida. I attended Curtis Elementary School when it was segregated. I went to 1 year to Pinellas High School, which you just renamed Pinellas High Innovations, which I'm very grateful for, to remember our alma mater. I've been actively involved in North Greenwood as a community activist for more than 30 years. President of North Greenwood Association, currently president of the North Greenwood Community Coalition. I've worked at that center through various administrations. I was with the African American Leadership Council. I provided substance abuse counseling. I'm a social worker by trade, a licensed clinical social worker. I did my internship at IBIS Safety Harbor and Clearwater High School for social work, and retired from the Bay Pines VA as a federal social worker. So I have a lot of experience working in community and knowing about community dynamics and learning about systems and processes. And when we come to a place like this where a center has been closed for the second time within 11 years, once when the city abandoned their lease agreement and decided to close the school and they were going to demolish the school, the coalition came together and put together some community grassroots individuals to save the center. All we needed was a $1 a year lease, and we used our own monies to renovate the center and to get it back up to status that we could serve the community. And here we are again with some issues that have transpired, whether they were personal or something that just did not happen, that the center was closed for a second time. What happens when what happens is it raises the hackles on people in the community, and then we come in and we sound belligerent when all we want is a fair chance to make something happen in our own community with people from the community, which gives our children some ownership that there are people who look like us, can run systems, can run programs, can be in charge of funding, and to make things happen in our community. But when you snatch it back and then you put it out for an RFP, and then you have people who come from outside of the community to try to serve in our community that don't have the same commitment and desire that we have to make it work, it kind of goes into a different place. So I'm here today to advocate for the center to be reopened and to maybe go back and look at the lease agreement and put some corrective actions in places and give us a chance to make that center work and have the grassroots community input that we desire. And we've never asked for taxpayer dollars to be spent back in the building. We did it on our own, and we still want another opportunity to make that happen. That's all.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Morning.
board members, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Emmanuel Matalon, and I am here as a concerned citizen. I am concerned about the objections of a few outweighing the pleas of the many, as is the case with Ruby Bridges' film and the book, The Bluest Eye. Concerned that the slippery slope of censorship has been greased by forces outside of the district. I am concerned that the books and films that are being removed from our libraries are ones that shine a light on people of color or people from marginalized societies whose voice has historically been diminished and suppressed. I am concerned that our democracy is giving way to totalitarianism as control of our local school board seems to be dictated by Tallahassee. Make no mistake about it, laws expanding the school voucher program or ones that will expand the dubiously named parental rights in education to all grades undermine our school system. These laws do not make us stronger. There is another dubiously titled law, individual freedom. Sounds pretty on paper, but in reality, the law should be called whitewashing history. Will you find ways to advocate for our history teachers so that they can teach history accurately? Or will you stand idly by as we rewrite history's slippery slope, casting America's Civil War as the war of northern aggression? You cannot teach American history without talking about colonialism. That is what we fought against, right? Well, how can you teach world history and colonialism without talking about the effects that it had on the native population? You can't, so you don't, or you won't. One useful tool in getting kids interested is relevant topics. It is baseball season. We are about to celebrate Jackie Robinson Day. How can a history teacher accurately administer a lesson on Jackie Robinson and the integration of baseball, Major League Baseball, without talking about the Negro Leagues, where Robinson played before joining the Dodgers? And how can you talk about the Negro Leagues without talking about why there was a Negro League? You can't, so you don't, or you won't. Time has expired. Special shout out to the students from Seminole High School and their amazing teachers who got them this far. Thank you.
Sorry. The next two speakers are Sarah Peacock and Dennis Michael Apgar.
Hi, I'm Sarah Peacock.
Let me get to the top. I'm here as a parent and a former student of Pinellas County Public Schools. I'm here to encourage you to listen and to support our teachers, and specifically the teachers union. We have incredible teachers. They're all well educated and care deeply for their students. They deserve to be included in decision making like the stakeholders that they are. I also am here to encourage the school board to continue lobbying in Tallahassee for the students of this county. Superintendent Hendricks, you say we have always been in competition with private education, but I would caution that we have not always been giving $8,000 per student incentive to leave our public school system. So I hope that you have been lobbying for that money to come from its own budget line and not come out of public school funding. As I'm sure you know, there are around 20,000 private school students in Pinellas County. Since this legislation removes the income cap for vouchers, each of those students will be eligible for a voucher. That means $160 million needs to come from somewhere. It's my understanding that this money has not been given its own line item and would be coming from FEFP, our public school funding. While the taxpayers are on the hook for $160 million in this county, statewide the estimate is $1.3 billion. I'd like to hear from the board about what we are preparing to do about this impending budget shortfall. It's going to happen, so I feel like we might as well start addressing what's coming down the line towards us. On the topic of censorship and elimination of learning materials, I would encourage you to separate your desire to shelter our children from the need to educate them. I understand that our hands are tied in many cases, but I would urge you to push back on the laws that limit our ability to provide learning materials that speak to the experiences of all of our students and provide insight into a wider human experience than their own. You are our voice, and you must do everything you can to prevent the erosion of our public school systems. I agree with Board Member Hein. At this point, we need to be solutions-based. I would encourage parents and students to come together and get involved, especially as more and more legislation is passed that will alienate and endanger our children and neighbors. That's all.
Greetings, Pinellas County School Board. My name is Dennis Michael Apgar, and I am an urban regional planning student at USF. Ever since the Brown versus Board of Education ruling desegregated our schools and the Little Rock Nine braved the crowd of white supremacist students, Pinellas County did not desegregate until 1971, the same thing with my home of Polk County. Legislation proposed by our governor, Ron DeSantis, House Bill 7, aka the Stop Woke Act, House Bill 999, is claimed that this bill will give parents the right to protect their kids from books containing our school lessons containing explicit materials such as sexual or pornographic imagery and verbal sentences. But opponents of the bill claim that this will, block the availability of African American literature or literature containing LGBT literature, which, by the way, Walden Books was the first to accept such literature. That store is no longer around today. And these laws do little to protect key curricula that are essential for students to learn about their own history and come to accept their identities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kevin Rowland. I'm with the USF St. Petersburg campus. I'm a political science major.
Mr. Rowland, I'm sorry, excuse me. We called the speakers in the order in which they signed up. Did you sign up to speak?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Mrs. Hauk, would you just maybe
Yes.
call the next few to make sure we're in order?
So
Thank you.
let's see. Yeah. I have Kevin Rowland, Kat Gardner would be following him. Okay.
So to provide a background, we based our project on a similar proposal that was recently implemented in Flagler County Schools. The Flagler County District received heavy backlash from students after they began removing books from classrooms immediately following the enactment of the legislation. I'm sure everyone here has seen the videos on social media circulating where you'd see these pictures and videos of empty libraries and classrooms with tarped over bookshelves so as to prevent kids from seeing the literature on there. So Flagler County created a board with nascent committees comprised of appointed members of the public to review curriculum that allegedly meets the criteria of the bills. Once appointed by the board, members are required to read, analyze, and deliberate with fellow members before going to a vote to determine whether or not a book should or should not be banned. They launched applications in February, and over 70 citizens showed up to get involved so as to provide information on this. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, board members and Superintendent Hendrick, for hearing my comments today. My name is Kat Gardner, and I serve on the PTA board at Ridgecrest Elementary School. Ridgecrest is one of only 6 schools in the district participating in the current cycle of National PTA's School of Excellence program. The National PTA School of Excellence Recognition Program opens the lines of communication and critical thinking within school communities to make data-driven decisions that yield positive long-term results. Our initial school survey revealed areas where we could improve as a school. One of those areas was the National PTA Standard number 3, supporting student success, specifically to help families and students plan for the future. Over 50% of our respondents indicated they did not know how the school involves parents in transitions to middle school. So PTA, in conjunction with our school, came up with a plan to better communicate the 5th grade matriculation process that occurs in our district. We started with promoting the Discovery Nights calendar that was provided by the district and setting up a schedule to amplify all the dates from the DAP calendar. This included sharing all Facebook Live and YouTube Q&A sessions through phone calls, newsletters, and social media. The challenge came after the DAP window closed. There seemed to be a lack of communication from the district on a defined schedule of expo nights at schools, or processes for guidance counselors to share with parents about local feeder schools coming to visit to register students for 6th grade classes. With Ridgecrest being a magnet for the Mid-County, we have students that come from a large geographical area, and with the abundance of opportunities the district provides for students to choose middle school pathways, there isn't one set way or schedule we could share. Many parents wanted to know what happens next after the DAP application and acceptance window closed. Parents that didn't have scholars applying to programs were just as concerned about the next steps for their 5th graders. So I come before you to ask that you consider the creation of a 5th grade roadmap to middle school. Not just a DAP calendar, as not all students will be entering DAP programs, but as I referenced in the material sent last week in advance, a what to expect when you're expecting middle school. That includes date ranges for milestones along the way, including considering a countywide Expo Night schedule the same way that you do for the DAP Discovery Nights. The transition from elementary to middle school is the most crucial, as the way that school is done changes the most going into secondary education. Thank you for your time regarding this matter. On a separate and final note, we will miss Vicki Graham as the principal of Ridgecrest. She has been a fabulous administrator, and we wish her the best of luck at her new assignment. And Ms. Hine, thank you for your comments earlier. I think they were on point. Thank you, guys.
The next 2 speakers are Joyce Liu and Renee Chia.
Good morning, Superintendent Hendrick and school board members. March may have been the month for music in our schools, but I want to tell you that music is in our schools every month, all the months, all the years, since kindergarten in my family's experience. My son Nigel went to Perkins Elementary School and discovered his love for the trumpet, Herbie Hancock, and Star Wars under the baton and warmth of Mr. Joel Heller. Nigel went on to middle school at Thurgood Marshall and was challenged by Mr. Daniel Taylor to get out of his comfort zone, audition for, and get into all-county band while learning how to sight read and practice with consistency. His love for jazz deepened with tunes like Blue Bossa and A Night in Tunisia. Nigel then moved on to St. Pete High's IB program, and that's when real problems manifested for him. He dropped out of IB and exhibited symptoms of anxiety and depression. He's letting me tell you this, by the way. His grades plummeted and he became withdrawn and sullen. During the pandemic, Nigel struggled with online synchronous teaching and started showing suicidal ideation in his actions, words, and drawings. On top of this, we had a nuclear family implosion, aka divorce, and his beloved older sister Nina left home for college. What grounded Nigel during this time that was so challenging and heart-wrenching and scary was band. Marching band, jazz band, concert band, all-county band. I would sit at their performances and football games and marvel at how engaged my son was. His teacher, Katie Aukerman, made him show up to school when he didn't show up for anything else in his life. Not his family, not his academics, but she made him show up to school. And she made him show up to after school and weekend rehearsals, gave him leadership roles like brass captain because she could see how much he needed the music and how much he needed his community. She literally was his lifeline. In fact, there were some days when she texted me to tell me that Nigel was asleep in his practice room, and should she wake him up and send him to class or let him keep sleeping? She connected to my child and she connected to my family. In the book, The Wonder of Boys, Michael Gurian suggests ideas for what parents and educators can do to shape boys into exceptional men. He offers the idea that boys are tribal creatures, that in group dynamics, boys find a strong container in which to make their journey of individuation and learn lessons on how to belong, who to be, and what to value. Without a doubt in my mind, the St. Pete High Marching Band has been Nigel's tribe for 4 years. It is the place I have seen him open up, express himself, take risks, mess up, laugh, make friendships, break friendships, reconcile, and renew his connection to himself. Nigel is an exceptional young man because he has exceptional music teachers, and I just want to thank you so much for making sure that these programs are here.
Good morning. I recently read in the paper that Dr. Jane Goodall was in Tampa. I wish I had known about it sooner because I would have loved to attend. I had the great fortune to meet Dr. Goodall about 25 years ago at Chico State University as an anthropology student there. She is not only a world-renowned and impressive anthropologist, she is also an amazing and memorable person. As I started thinking about her and the years and decades she has witnessed and my love for primatology that I share with her, an objective truth struck me. Homo sapiens sapiens are the only species of primate who have ever been confused about scientific facts such as biology. No other species is confused about who is male and who is female in the species, and no other species attempts to alter that fact through body mutilation and unnatural drug regimes. As I contemplated this, I remembered a film we watched about baboons. Baboons, like all primates, are social creatures and live in what are called troops. In this particular film, there were 2 females who gave birth around the same time. One of the babies sadly died shortly after. The mother of that baby, in her grief, began to have emotional and mental health issues. She would watch the other mother and started stalking her. After a while, when she got the opportunity, she snatched the baby and ran away with it. The mother of the baby started to screech, and the troop responded by chasing down the female and getting the baby back alive, thankfully. The troop responded by chasing the baboon away and shunning her from the group. They do not tolerate unpredictable, dangerous, or weak individuals in the troops, as they all must rely on each other for survival. They don't appoint the troubled individual as the Energy Department's Deputy Assistant Secretary of Luggage Stealing. You know what else they don't do? They don't validate and entertain the mental health issue. It's interesting that gender dysphoria, which is in the DSM as a mental health issue, is the only one treated by trying to physically alter people, validate them, and then force the rest of society to conform to their whims. We don't validate and conform to schizophrenics who might see a giraffe in the room. Think about that. Now, before you go all crazy, let's be clear, I didn't say be mean to them. You can provide compassion and a hug and still not play along with someone's illness. I have a challenge for all of you today. In Pinellas County, we should seek to follow actual science. Ms. Hine, you were talking a lot about values. A lot of times people use that word and they say community values, but they don't necessarily mean American values. That term used to be used as a uniting term. Now it's used as a dividing term. And I hope that you were using it in the let's all be Americans type sense. I urge you to start today and stop validating this childish fantasy land. It's not mean, it's very simple. Just don't feel compelled to play along anymore. Call a girl a she and a boy a he. Here in our county, we can make societal decisions for our troop regardless of what is happening in the rest of the nation. And if you like to live in pretend land, you can go to California. That would be the place for you.
The next two speakers are Lily M. Henry and Gabriella Cordoviola.
Good morning. I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. God is good. I'm here to, from the Dr. Martin Luther King Center, to ask you and to please open up your drawer and take out that key that you have locked the center up with again. That center is very important. It not only validates a Dr. Martin Luther King, which did the whole world. That's who he was about. So who are you about? We had no idea, which you gave us a notice. True, you did. Short notice. Yes, you did. You did not listen. You listened to who you wanted to listen to. We were volunteers. Repeat myself. I was one of those volunteers. I love to come to that center to help those families. Repasses, graduations, baby showers, which I'm sure some of you have children. I know a lot of you are grandparents. But it was exciting. It was beautiful. If you had seen some of the faces of some of those parents, grandparents, 80th birthday parties, I enjoyed that. I retired from childcare 48 years ago. I miss it because of an illness. But it gave me an opportunity to do something in my community. But open at that door, open up that drawer, take out that key, do not throw it away. Open up that center, be knowledgeable. Listen, listen, listen to what we ask. Dr. King was about the world and the community. We would like to know in your heart, when you take an oath, we all took an oath to help the world, help anyone that we can, however that we can. I was raised up old school. We all got the whippings. No problem. But we all did what our parents told us to do. But please, please, listen to what we are asking. Open up those doors, take out that key, and open up that center to the organizations that want to use the facility. Summer is coming up. Our children need some place to go. Thank you very much.
I'm Gabriella Corviola from University of South Florida, and I'd like to expand on the points brought up by my previous classmates in regards to the book review committee that was enacted in Florida in Flagler County. Because our proposed committee is entirely composed of volunteers, funding would not be necessary as it would if these volunteers were paid staff members. Thus, supplying volunteers with copies of the book is the only cost associated with this plan. As previously stated, our solution is modeled after the book review committee in Flagler County. Upon reviewing their past and upcoming book review meetings, it appears that an average of 3 books are reviewed each month. We've assumed that most challenge books will cost no more than $20. Since 9 volunteers would be on the committee, we've estimated that book costs would require a monthly average of $540. Additionally, Flagler County's book review committee meets at local high schools, so there would be no cost associated with location if this plan were implemented in Pinellas County.
The next two speakers are Laura Shaw and Jasmina Forgan.
Hi, good morning. My name is Laura Shaw, and I am a political science student at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, and I will be closing our presentation. According to the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, research has found that when schools address sexual and gender identity development, they connect youth to their community and deter prejudice, bullying, and harassment directed towards LGBTQ+ students lowers. The rates of bullying and harassment among LGBTQ+ students is over 50%, as seen on the proposal that we submitted to you earlier. The goal of our project would be not to indoctrinate kids or expose them to any harmful material, but rather to allow those within the community to have a direct role in the decision-making process that is determining the materials that is placed in these schools. I understand that the board has already developed a plan for this, but we believe that our proposal, which includes members of the public that would apply, would be better suited to help the schools. Our proposal is that the school board would create committees made up of members of the public that would review material submitted to the school board instead of the burden falling on the library technicians and et cetera. The material itself is obviously submitted by objection by members of the public, and the committee members would apply and be appointed by the school board. The committees would consist of 6 school and faculty members, 1 parent or representative from a parent organization, 1 representative from the public, and 1 representative from the public library board. We believe that obviously that the school board has to follow the law, and we understand that, and we are not objecting to that at all, but we believe that it is in the best interests of students and of community members to have a direct role in the decision-making process and deciding what materials are acceptable for schools. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine Forcan. I'm a 30-year Clearwater citizen and 15-year community volunteer. I mentored children in Skycrest and Clearwater Intermediate School, and I'm part of Take Stock in Education. Aquatic Center in Clearwater provides different activities than our center used to provide. Aquatic Center, you have to pay membership fee and then pay fees as you need activities. Our center served different community and different events. Historically, our center was used to bus people from Pasco to Clearwater during segregation. Pandemic didn't close us down. You closed us down when we were fully operating. If we did anything wrong during our 10 years in operation, we should have known, you should have told us, we could have fixed it. Even school children get an opportunity to fix their homeworks if they didn't do it right. Why didn't we have any kind of sign or a warning before you just locked our doors for the community? We were given death sentence by you without chance of parole or I beg you to open the center for the community. Thank you.
Madam Chair, there are no more speakers.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for attending today's meeting. Have a wonderful afternoon and evening. The board will now perform its meeting evaluation, and following the evaluation, we will take a 45-minute lunch. During this time, this room will be set up for our board work session regarding the district's strategic plan. Thank you all for attending.